Okay, so just to kind of review, this is kind of the finishing touches on our Chapter 12 student project, and where we left it off was after the second part. We have destinations now where we can add new destinations. We have accommodations, and we have activities where we can add and delete, add and delete, add and delete. When you go home, we have one trip that has both an accommodations and a couple of activities associated with it. Now we kind of like manually added this trip into the database. And so if you go to add trip right now, you can see it takes us to the trip controller add method, page 1. This is the add view page 1 method, if you will. And that's where it's at now. Here, we've got the add trip and we're displaying our trips. I think this used to be 3 pages and now it looks like it's down to 2, right? So on the first page, we've got some destinations in a drop-down list. We have accommodations in a drop-down list, start and end date. And then when you click next, it takes us to your activities, which has a like a select list where you can select multiple, right? So that's kind of what we're going to finish up here, and then we'll come back to the specifications to allow us to delete a trip. And here it says from drop down, so you can kind of interpret that from the screenshot. And here's your select list, multiple selections. And that shouldn't, I think we've done a lot of the heavy lifting already. So I think this kind of at the end shouldn't be too bad. Under my folder structure here, let's look at our controllers. So here's our trip controller and our views. It's really our home controller that takes us where we ended up. So here in our home controller, nope, I take that back, our home view. So here's our home view. With our add action of the trip controller with the route ID of page 1. That's how we ended up with that URL, was clicking this link here. So that's the current state of where we are. So let's go ahead and make that folder for a trip. Actually, let's go to our trip controller. I want to look at this URL one more time. Just make sure. So it's the add method of the trip controller that we need to have a get for. So trip controller, right here. So that ID is passed in as page 1. So we can kind of test for that. If the ID now let's take a look what's on here. We have data from multiple tables, and of course we could use ViewBag for that, or we could use a view model, right? So at this point, we'll go ahead and use a view model to load up what information we need out of the database for our view. So under our models folder, I'm going to kind of come back to this. And under models right now, we've got 2 subfolders, data access for our data access layer, and our models, domain models. So let's make another folder here for view models. New folder, view models. Keep this organized in that way. Add a class. Trip view model. Now we need to bring in trip called trip. Bringing in domain models, there we go. We'll take a closer look at everything on here in just a second. Kind of going back here, a trip has destinations, it has accommodations, and it has activities. So this is one view model that's basically going to be able to store a lot of different data for us. Page number is going to refer to, what page, page 1, page 2, so on and so forth. You have any?
In IntelliSense, most all activities like reference.
Did it really?
Yeah. It's IES.
IES.
So it doesn't like mess you up in the future.
Good eye.
Not very IntelliSense.
Yeah, that's not too smart, is it? Selected activities, accommodations, destinations. So one view model storing a bunch of different data that we'll be able to use in our controllers. we bring this back, let's instantiate a new trip view model. Now we have this destination data field, this instance field. So destination data. This is kind of like selecting all the destinations, selecting all the accommodations, right? Because you need to have them all available in your drop-down list. Yeah.
Why next to accommodation is there the parentheses on line 45 at the very end, and not on line 40 next to destination?
That's probably a typo. So it is a typo. We don't need those
Okay, you don't need
parentheses.
those. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. Now, you know, to test this, there's an if for page 1, there's an else as page 2, and then if it's not page 1 or page 2, what are you? But let's just take this if statement off for now, just so we can kind of load it up, right? We know it's page 1. That's the only thing we've coded so far is a page 1, and I just kind of want to get page 1 working before we go on to page 2. So I'll bring back this if statement as we build it out a little bit. That should allow me to go back to the add method. So the next thing here is let's go ahead under our views. Let's add a folder for trip. And add one. Add a view. And we know that this is a trip view model. And we need it to be recognized.
View imports.
View imports, thank you. At using trip log 2 model view models. Now it's recognized. Very good. I'm just gonna see if I can get my markup to pull up. It says add trip. Add trip page 1 for the title. Make sure it's all wired up properly. There we go. Add trip page 1. So this is where we need to code add trip, destination, and dates. Add trip. Okay, first up, a destination drop down coming in from the view bag. Let's put a div around it. Yes, sir, Vinny.
Don't we want to make that a method of post on the form? Make sure that wasn't crazy.
Could I? I always got to think to myself again, the syntax here, it's helpful when you get this overloaded constructor, but where we're pulling from is the destinations list out of our model. So we're pulling from the list of destinations. The value will be the destination ID, and then what the user sees is the destination name. So that's the 3 arguments into our constructor there. And close the list, and let's see what breaks. Okay. So far so good. I bet you accommodations is going to be pretty similar. Bless you. So I'm gonna copy, paste, change destination ID, accommodation ID, copy, paste, accommodations. And check that out. Okay. We have a destination, we have accommodation. There's really not too much else to this page. We've got a start date and an end date, and a submit button and a cancel button. Dates are always fun, you know, because input ASP4 the HTML obviously has a type of date. Who was that, Ryan or Sam? What are you guys using for your dates? Weren't you using the type of date, and it caused?
Yeah, but then you just put date and makes it a calendar.
It makes it a calendar, right? So that makes it easy for the user, but there was some conflicts when you would select that date. In other words, so if I check that out, right, type of date, and that's going to give us a calendar control. Again, that's an HTML5 control. You had some errors with that, right?
Yeah, it's definitely more convenient when you're inserting data, but whenever you're trying to type, like let's say it's like, if this is this time, then do this, it's much harder to insert it when it includes all like the minutes and seconds and all that. So it's much easier to do the other way where it just shows the month, day, and year.
Yeah, I would say that's also my kind of experience is, while this is a nice visual control, I've seen some conflicts. So for that reason, just keeping it a type of text and letting the user type and handling those exceptions.
I don't know if you could, I know there's one that's date time as well, so I don't know if you can put
Yeah.
time as well.
But anyway, that's kind of the reason why I'm using the type of text on a date control instead of a type of date, as I've seen some conflicts along the way. You could choose to use it, and that's totally fine. You want to work your way through those conflicts when you come across them, if you come across them, I'm fine with that too. But we've got a start date, and let's put in another one for an end date. And finally a div for our buttons. So a next button and a cancel button, dark and outline dark. Okay, so add trip, destination, accommodations, dates. Next doesn't do anything yet because we haven't wired that up. That's going to send us back to the controller, at which point we can send us to another view. Right, we can redirect to another view once we get back to the controller. So let's go back to the controller, trip controller. Let's bring our if statement back in. Now, page number was set to 1. We need this else if, right? Else if ID to lower is page 2. So we have to get that ID to say page 2. So let me think about where we're going to do that. That should come. So we need to go ahead and bring in the post method for the add, because this is ultimately a get. And we need to make a post. So after this, page number will come in as 1, so this if statement should be true. We check to say basically gets us to go to page 2. So at the end of this, we're going to return, redirect to action, add, so this allows it to come in as a post and sends you back to the get, basically, with ID of page 2. Now there's also some temp data that we're going to store. Basically, they're going to save the selections that they made. Right? They made some selections that we're going to save into temp data. So the data comes in on the post, we save it, and then we redirect to the get. That's how we get page 2, this else if. Now this else is for data validation. In which case you just have to pull in the you can copy this, right? Destinations and accommodations. And here, just to make this happy, I'm going to return to view index. What is that return? No, it doesn't even need that. What are you not happy for? Not all code paths if. Oh, I just need to put that there. Temporarily put that there so that compiles. Okay, so that, basically the main thing is this right now, right? So that'll get us back to the get of page 2. That'll hit this else if ID of page 2. Set the page number to 2. Now when we were using temp data, remember temp data, the first time you read it, it's kind of marked for deletion. And so there are some methods that you can read the data and not make it available for deletion, right? So temp data dot peak, and then the key that we put here was destination ID. And we need to cast that to an int. So I'll put that in front and put Put the exclamation point there, so that goes away. I'm just gonna put a breakpoint in right here and make sure that this is being hit. And we've coded a lot, and I want to make sure not all code paths return. Okay, so let's just put in temporary something right now. Try again. There we go. Okay, add trip, destination, Branson, camping. Yeah, no, that didn't work. So here I need a breakpoint here. ID to lower, so page 2 should be the ID. I'm going to put in a breakpoint here as well. Okay, it's not hitting my breakpoint there. Put a breakpoint there. Post, add. Add trip, click, click, click. Okay, my view model. My page number should be 1 because we set it right here. And then we sent that back to the view. Now,
We're not doing
did we
route
store?
ID anywhere. We're not using. Should we be passing like page 1 as a string of like a route ID into that?
So that ID so the ID of page 1 when the page loads, that's that third part of the route. So this should be hitting, so the ID should be page 1 when that page first loads. Right? So I hit add trip, ID is page 1. So that's going in here. It's setting VM page number 1. But what's happening here, I don't think we're storing that page number in the view anywhere. I think what's happening is we need to store page number. And so check this out. So I found it. So back here in this form, we need to have a hidden field for page number. Input type of hidden because it's getting lost. ASP4 page number. So now my page number won't be lost when it's sent from the controller to the view. It's stored on the view, and then it can be posted back to the controller.
Can I see the trip controller? I missed the code after the second else if, page 2.
Well, keep in mind, these returns are just temporary. I'm just getting them to make the compiler happy.
Okay.
But what was happening somewhere along the way, my this page number was getting lost, and so it was set to 0. But now that we're storing page number on the view, it can then be sent back to the controller. So check this out. So now when I post, this page number should now be 1. It's a whole lot of sending back and forth and destination, accommodations, start date, end date. See, now I got a page number of 1. Right, so this page number was set here, right, in the controller. It then sent the view model to the view. You just had to send that page number back to the controller. And if you don't store it on the view, then it can't be sent back to the controller. So there we go. Now that that is true, that is also true. And now we're at page 2. However, here, else if, now I'm going to put the breakpoint ID to lower should be page 2, and that'll get us into here. So I want to just troubleshoot that last little else if, not troubleshoot, just hit the breakpoint and look at it. Add trip, click, click. So ID is page 2. Of course, to lower is page 2. That should be true. Now we're happy. And temp data has 4 keys: destination ID, accommodation ID. So if I step into that, destination ID should be 3, and that's what I was looking for. Yes, sir.
Okay, so I was kind of wondering why you were doing the temp data, the 4 different temp datas for the data coming from that first page. But is that because you need to store it in temp data? Because if it's in the view model and it gets sent to the next page, since it's not on that page, it'll get lost in the view model?
Bingo.
Okay.
Bingo. Yeah, it's just like, you know, if you got like a wizard and you got 5 pieces of data and 5 pieces of data and 5 pieces, you're just saving it as you go.
It's just weird to me that like you can save something in a view model and then it gets sent to the next page, and then if you don't save it in temp data, it's lost. That's
Well, right. So let's go back here. Like,
'cause that's what was happening with page number, right? Kind of.
yeah, page number got lost because it was sent from the controller to the view, but then it had to go from the view back to the controller.
Couldn't you just then, instead of doing the hidden field, just do like what you did with temp data down there on line 68, and just say temp data page number equals this?
Well, keep in mind, this was coming back false right here. Page number was already lost by here.
Right.
This was coming back as 0. But yeah, there could be other ways of saving that, I suppose, is what you're saying. So I just wanted to make sure that we were storing the data in temp data. If you think about it, you know, on this post, the user has made some selections, and we're just saving those selections.
Yeah, because when it goes to the next page, it's gonna, the view model is gonna forget about it.
It would forget about them.
Yeah.
Okay. So now we're back here.
I hope. He won. Yeah, there was some dirt on.
So kind of go back to the second page. We really just need activities, but we're going to send the destination so that we can associate the activities with that destination. So this, we go to add to. And then here's an else. We just take you to the home page. So let's just add a view for add to. Okay, add to gets us to the view called add to. We have the destination kind of loaded up. That allows us to say add things to do in your destination. So let's see if we got that wired up or what's broke. Add things to do in Branson Mo. I guess I don't need the curlies. Okay, so I'm going to start coding this view for page 2, which is essentially a select list where you could select multiple. And a form that says save, and that when you post that back, that'll be actually saving to the database, right? forget the page number. So the multiple attribute's a Boolean attribute, and it's, multiple equals true is kind of what you assume there. So instead of being a drop-down list, when you say multiple, well, you can select multiple, and then the size is how you actually change it from a drop-down list to like just a big list. While you guys are typing, I'm just going to boot that up and make sure that when I click add trip and go to page 2, I do see my selection multiple, and that's working. Now when I click save, I got to go back to the controller and code the last little bit, which is just inserting the trip into the database. Okay, so back to the controller, and this is on the post. This outer if, else if, page number is 2. So we got to read the data out of temp data, right, to save to the database. So temp data sub this and sub that. Destination ID. Okay, now we should have on this one selected activities that the user selected. So we have to, coming from this view is the list of selected activities, one or many. So we have to add that to our view model, because ultimately we're saving this view model to the database. So we're going to loop through. I'm sorry, to take the select activities and save them to the trip. Okay.
Sorry, what was that last line, Adam? A lot of code.
Sure is.
Okay. You had lines 125 and 128 are the same, but one just.
Yeah, one's in this else if block, and this one is not. This one's, if that's false, and that's false, then you just do that.
And then what happened on the HTTP get add? You had something at the end there to make that valid as well. Was it?
I think there's this else
an
maybe.
else block. Okay.
Yeah.
And that's the same.
So to really give this a decent test, let's add a new, like maybe we'll just add a new destination. Okay.
Works.
So now add trip, Belleville, the Hyatt, Next. We're going bold. There we go. Not done yet.
So gotta do the delete.
We still gotta do the delete.
Can you go back to your trip controller, please?
Sure can.
Towards the bottom where it says last update in this.
Next, we want to get the delete button, right? So this is back on the home controller in the home view where we have our activities. Here's our delete button that it should be there. It should take us to a method delete. So we just need the delete action of the trip controller, and keeping in mind that coming in is going to be the trip ID. So that delete method takes a parameter. So after our add method for the posts, we'll do a post.
Oh, you're doing this. You're doing this in the trip control or the home control.
Yeah, I believe the home controller, I believe the home view calls the delete of the trip controller. There
Oh, I
it is,
see,
trip
okay.
controller delete. Let me stop this from running. Get rid of those green squigglies with an exclamation point. Put that in here. Give it a shot. There she goes.
Can you show what happens like if you try to delete a destination now?
Yeah, cancel is not working, and the question is try and delete the destination
Now it's associated with.
now that it's associated with that. Well, that's what you would expect, or is it? I would expect an exception, but I would accept us to handle it. Object reference not sent to an instance of an object. So, we'll take a quick look. Let's wire up the cancel first. So if I click on add trip and I click cancel, you know what, I don't think it's a post. It's not a post. Take that off. Click on add, click on cancel, there we go. So if I click on add, click on cancel. Now manage destination, delete Belleville. Really not happy about that, so let's take a look-see. So I'm going to open up the destination controller and the delete method. Don't know that we flushed all this out. So if I go manage destinations, delete. Destinations Belleville. Okay, so there's your exception. Now, my catch block doesn't have, normally try catches have parentheses. So did I forget my parentheses on my catch block is what it looks like to me. So destination controller.
Yeah, it's usually like exception X or something.
Uh-huh. Let's just put that in there. And ping that again. Step over is going to be my friend here. Now it's caught. Okay. So it goes back to the view or list of destinations. So here's what we have to do. We need to destination controller. We need to do this. We need to return the destination var destinations equals, and just like we did before, we need to basically this. we need to do that down here. And then return to the view, comma, destinations. It was just trying to put the destinations back, send the destinations back to the view. And it was like, hey, I'm trying to loop over a bunch of destinations and they're not there. So let's hit play, and that should fix that. And manage destinations and delete. There it is.
And then for, I know we did the same thing for accommodation.
Let's see if that works. Okay, we did that right.
But what about activities? I know that was something different.
Activity we did not do. They said it allowed cascading deletes. So I believe if I click bowling, we allowed that.
And then if you
And
go
now
back
if
to
I go
your
back to
trips,
trips, there's no more bowling.
that's pretty cool.
Very.
Can I see the code for the showing the temp data message in the layout? I'm assuming it's
Yeah, in the layout, so under views, under shared layout,
there it is.
make sure while you're looking at that we hit all the bullet points. Yep. All right, that's the end of that one.